July 7th, 2010. My name is Ghost666. That was the name given to me at birth. It sounds strange, I know. Which parent would name their child like that? Well, the truth is, I am no one's child. I am simply a clone created by the American government. I was cloned from a Bulgarian woman's DNA sample, and I have been trained since birth. The only difference between me and regular people is that I am physically and mentally superior due to the modified DNA. And now you're gonna ask, why would the government make clones? Well, the answer is quite simple. We clones are cheap to make, superior to humans and as docile and obedient as you can get. We were made with the sole purpose of cheap labor. The total count of clones is around 1% of the whole world population. Not every clone is the same. We are all made from different DNA samples and are trained and modified differently for different jobs. And of course, there are those of us who are made for everything. I am one of those clones made for all kinds of tasks. I can go through the whole list, but I just simply don't have that time. My next training session starts soon. And so, I'll just explain why I am given such a stupid name. Every clone has their own nickname, like Ghost, Forester, Hunter, Lucky, etc. Those nicknames are chosen by the scientist who created us. The numbers on the back are simply our birth dates. For example, I was officially born or created on the 6th of June 1996, and therefore my birth number is 666. I was born a female, and as you may have already guessed, I'm currently 14 years old. You can recognize me by my pitch black hair, blue ocean eyes, freckles all over my face, and the wide scar that goes across it. And that's all the time I have for today, but I will return on a later date. December 8th, 2010. The last few months have been really tough on me. Since I am one of the specialized for everything clones, the scientist and commanding officer of the laboratory have really high expectations on me, and I do not want to let them down. The reason for that is every clone born with a disability or not being able to achieve what is suspected of them are being sent to secret camps for their destruction. I cannot be one of the ones who fail. Otherwise, I would be one of those who met their end in a godforsaken edge of this world. The training that I had to go through was mostly physical. I was tested on how much weight I can lift with more and more pressure constantly being added. I somehow managed to pass without getting squashed into a bloody corpse. The other training, if you can call it that, was to test for immunity. I was being injected with all types of viruses, bacteria, and poisons. Thank God I was created with a strong immune system. Otherwise, I would have probably died from that. The next test was health resistance. They put me into a chamber without an exit, with constantly changing temperatures, the lowest being negative 100 degrees Celsius, and the hottest being 100 degrees Celsius and up. I don't know how I survived that. When the temperatures went that extreme, I literally felt like I was going to freeze and then melt. That test continued 9 days of constant temperature change. After that, I had to go to my psychiatrist who would check on my mentality after all of it. Luckily, I didn't show any symptoms of mental problems. Now I know you're probably gonna say that this sounds like hell that I went through. And yes, these tests were quite tough, and I had to go through them every once in a while. However, this test period wasn't that bad. I actually managed to make some friends. The people that I befriended were Violet 506, Fury 996, and Izia 1216. Since we were all born in the same year and were all specialized in everything, we got close really fast. Violet 506 was called that because of her natural purple eyes and purple dyed hair. Fury was a strong male clone with black-brown eyes and red hair, and who also had very big anger issues. Izia is a blonde female clone with green eyes. She was named Izia after the deceased daughter of the scientist who had created her. Well, that pretty much covers most of the testing that I went through. By this time next year, I'll be able to start my job. Ghost out. April 5th, 2011. Yes, we all got our jobs at St. Peter Laboratory, which is located at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. This is one of the top labs owned by the United States of America. It is highly secured and holds some of the most unique and dangerous experiments. A lot of the creatures here are monsters, demons, and spirits caught in the overworld by the hunters. There are also a lot of aliens who escaped areas 51, 78, 66, and 96. These areas are the top most secured alien and mutant bases in the world, and the aliens who escaped from there were in fact the most dangerous ones. My and Fury's jobs are security guards in Containment Block 09, which houses creatures like the Jersey Devil. Violet and Izia were made into scientists and moved to the research part of the facility, as they were the smart ones in our group. December 12th, 2012. During our work shift today, something interesting happened. It all started as a regular boring day, observing all the cells and the creatures within them to make sure none of them were planning to escape. "This is gonna be fun," said Fury sarcastically. His face had annoyance written all over it. I asked him, "What is?" He quickly responded with, "General Black will come to check on how us clones are working." I said, "We are doing our job correctly, so I don't know what you're so upset about." Fury giggled and told me, "I think that your scientist should have called you Slave 2.0, since you're all about memorizing the protocol and following the rules." I knew he was joking because he always liked to pick fun at our position of the government. I'm just simply trying to do my best to not get killed by the system though. Fury, on the other hand, was quite rebellious. He liked to cause trouble. One time, he had so many strikes on his record that if I hadn't snuck myself into the office where they kept our records and deleted his, he would have already been sent to get destroyed. In case you were wondering, my scientist called me Ghost because I was special when it came to sneak attacks, ambushes, traps, and escaping. In my earliest years, I had escaped 20 times. The reason why I didn't get destroyed was because my scientist took the blame, and so she was demoted to a simple janitor. However, my skills proved useful when it came to tracking down escapists or finding holes in security, and so she quickly got her job back because it was assumed that she had taught me all that. Don't give my scientist hell for using me to get her job back. She is like a mother to me because she always made sure that I would get the easiest way out of the test. Other clones went and are still going through far worse than I did. And besides, my scientist kept buying me presents and taking care of me like I was her own daughter. Sadly, I was never able to learn her name, as attachments were forbidden in my home lab. The whole caring thing had to go in secret, otherwise we both would have gotten punished. Anyways, I'm rambling. Going back to my original point on what had happened today. Many of the creatures started escaping and killing anybody that they saw. I took my shotgun and I started blasting them. I had only taken the stun bullets because I'm forbidden to kill no matter what. Fury was covering my back while we went through the whole 09 containment block and stopped any creature attacking the staff. We finally went to the research part of the 09 block. The problem in there was that a failed dinosaur experiment had broken loose and started attacking the people and clones working at it in the room. We were in a predicament since we had to choose between saving our friends or saving two human scientists who rank-wise were far superior than them. Of course, we chose to save our friends. The aftermath of the incident was 4 human casualties and 12 clone casualties. I was furious to say the least, as the humans had used our kind to get to safety, while the clones were being ripped apart. But sadly, I couldn't do anything about it. Or I can't do anything about it right now, anyway. October 15th, 2013. A lot has happened since my last entry here. Violet and Izia were both made senior research experts, which was one of the greatest honors given to a clone. They now could make inventions to help mankind progress, and maybe someday, that same progress could win freedom for our people. Fury was made chief of security, which means he is responsible for basically everything that happens in the laboratory, when it came to the well-being of everyone in the facility. And now you may be wondering, what happened to me? Well, in January and May, we had many problems with escaping creatures, which led to many casualties. I managed to get them all back into their cells, even the ones that somehow managed to get back on the surface. I tracked those down too, and I got them back in the laboratory. Because of my skills, I was promoted to a monster hunter, which meant that I could go outside whenever I was called to duty and track down or either kill or contain the target. My first capture was a Chinese dragon which had escaped from the facility in Japan. Thankfully, I managed to track it down and contain it before any damage was done. The dragons have thick scales which make it impossible for a dart filled with sleep chemicals to get into the bloodstream and actually do something. I had to gas the damn thing with a sleeping agent, and so I did. I scared it off with bright flashing lights and loud sounds into a forested area away from civilization. In there, I had set a gas bomb with a detector which set it off as soon as the dragon went near it. When it comes to my first kill, I had to go and kill a pack of skinwalkers, which wasn't an easy task. I had to use some fresh meat to lure them into the trap, and so I did just that. I killed some sheep and cows and gutted them, and so the smell would attract the skinwalkers and placed them near the cave where they had nested. I hid on the top of a faraway tree and I loaded my sniper rifle. When the creatures came out, I waited for them to start eating, and then I continued to wait a little bit more so they would get so focused on eating that they wouldn't be aware of their surroundings. And that's when I shot. Bang, bang, bang. 3 of the 10 creatures fell down. The other skinwalkers were so confused they started looking around, searching for the culprit, but they couldn't find me. 4 more shots. 4 more of the creatures dropped dead. The remaining skinwalkers started running away afraid, but my trigger finger was quicker. Bang, bang, bang. The rest dropped dead as well. Those are just 2 of my missions, but sadly, that's all I can say here as most of my other missions were classified. I'm just gonna say that these missions had me cleaning up the Queen's bullshit. April 20th, 2017. I'm officially fed up with the humans' bullshit. Killing monsters I understand, but capturing children for test experiments, screw that. November 13th, 2017. The latest tasks given to me weren't bearable. I was tasked with killing people and covering it up. I had to kill 12 agents who had escaped and 30 military deserters who just wanted to see their families. At this point, people are using me as a hitman to kill those who speak out against the system. I don't even hunt monsters and demons anymore. I'm used to hunt humans and clones. And lately, all of my missions are only titled with execute target, and then they give the name, age, and appearance and where they were last seen. Also, my capture missions were to take children for experimenting. My job is going out of what it was originally for. I was so excited when I first took the job, but now I'm angered by all the things that I'm forced to do. It's all B's fault. He is the one who was giving me all those jobs. Ever since my owner, my scientist, was forced to sell me to B, I've been nothing but his personal hitman. And I am sick of my job, but I can't quit it. B would just find somebody else to kill me. Anyway, at least there are a few good things going on right now. Violet and Fury got together. Fury was so nervous the entire week before asking her out, and it was funny, he kept asking me for advice. He confessed just yesterday and Violet was quite surprised, but she did accept as she was quite fond of him too. I'm so happy for them, mainly because they're my best friends and we've been through hell together. Also, my scientist was transferred to this lab's research center, which was one of the most important parts of the whole building, and I finally managed to learn her name. Blair. Her name is Blair. I'm so happy to finally know the name of my mother, and now since she isn't my owner, we can openly show that we are mother and daughter. Attachments in St. Peter Lab were forbidden only when it came to clones falling in love with humans, same for the other way around. However, mother-daughter types of attachments weren't forbidden, so it was no problem for me to call her mom. February 21st, 2018. This next job I took with great pleasure. It was an order by the president himself. Apparently General B had insulted the president, and so the president himself asked me to take care of him. I smirked and replied with, "Consider it done, sir." B didn't have a quick death, oh no. I wouldn't give him that mercy. Instead, I took him to the research part of Containment Block 13, which had the most brutal experiments of all. I made sure to skin the general's face and rip out his tongue, so no one would recognize him by face or voice. I tasked the scientists to do anything they wanted with him, and oh boy they did. He suffered all the horrors his victims had to go through, while I stood behind the glass screen, watching and laughing. I knew he finally got what he had deserved. In the end, what remained of him was fed to the Wendigos kept in the containment block. After that, I went back to the surface and made sure to delete all of his social media accounts and erased any trace of the general. My final act of revenge was stealing all of his files and burning his house down. So I went back to my apartment in the housing section of St. Peter Laboratory, and I started going through all the lists of people that he had victimized. It wasn't that surprising to see most of them, and since I had to carry out the executions myself. However, I was still baffled by the horrific end of some of the people who were on the list. January 9th, 2019. I had been back to my previous job, hunting monsters and demons and killing them on the spot or containing them for experimenting. However, now, I have something else on my mind. After looking more into all the files B had, I found out about contacts with aliens, and even contacts with the devil himself. Not only that humans have made new weapons of mass destruction, some of which are hidden in here, in the lab that I lived in. There are also many discoveries like new diseases created by the humans. I don't get the humans. Why are they so filled with hate? They kill their own kind, and they kill the whole planet. And the government is hiding planets that are just like Earth, and the whole fact that we can get to them in just under 3 months. But maybe it's for the best that if humans die out on Earth, those other planets will be safe. January 19th, 2019. I saw Izia getting punched by one of the other scientists who work at her place. All she did was speak her mind. She told them that what they were doing was dangerous, but they told her to shut up and leave them alone. She insisted, and then one of them turned around and said, "I don't think a clone should tell their superiors what to do." And to which she responded with, "You're the inferior one here. I was bred, trained, and raised for this job, while you took it with your daddy's money." He got angry and he punched her in the face. She stepped back and said, "I have went through worse than that. Nothing you can do can hurt me as much as the people who experimented on me back in my home laboratory." He was going to punch her again, but I stepped in and grabbing his wrist and stopping him from hitting her. "Let go of me," he yelled while trying to free himself. I asked, "Who's superior now, you stupid human?" And then I squeezed so hard that I could hear his bone crack. He yelled in pain and pleaded for me to let him go, and so I did. And then I punched him so hard that I shattered his jaw. His colleagues were watching in horror, unable to move, as the only way out was past me. "Ghost, that's enough," said Izzy with a surprisingly calm voice. I nodded and I looked at the others. I placed a finger to my mouth, making the stay quiet gesture. And so they did. None of them spoke up about what had happened. They were smart. I knew their faces, and if they had tried to say anything about what had happened, well, let's just say that they wouldn't be able to open their mouth as it was filling with blood. January 29th, 2019. I got closer with Izzy after the work incident. The one thing about her is that she was always so calm. Sometimes I wonder if she has any emotions at all. However, I already know the answer to that question. She has been through the same as everyone else, and she has been through even worse than me and Violet and Fury. Her scientist lost her daughter and wanted to make Izzy a perfect. And by perfect, I mean emotionless and physically better than the rest of us. That actually explains why she barely shows emotion. Her scientist always punished her because of emotions. Izzy was being beaten on a daily basis mostly if she shows any signs of sadness. Since her scientist lost his child because of depression, he wanted to make Izzy emotionless. He did somewhat succeed as Izzy has emotions but almost never shows them. I've always tried to make her show them, but I rarely have any success. I do manage to make her smile, however, mostly with my dark stories with happy endings. I spent all of my free time with Izzy, even more with her than Fury and Violet. Well, what do you expect? Violet and Fury are a couple, and they spend more time with each other than with us. Then again though, maybe I do have some feelings for Izzy. August 20th, 2019. Izzy got changed to the Monster Hunter position after her incident at work. She did alright, and now I have a sidekick to help me with my work. Izzy is doing a great job and I'm so proud of her. September 1st, 2019. Something isn't right. Clones are disappearing left and right with no apparent reason. September 20th, 2019. I found out what was happening with the clone disappearances. I followed one of the human scientists into the deepest part of the laboratory. It wasn't easy, and I had to make fake documents and steal scientist clothing from the laundry room. But the important thing is that I got in. This was a zombie containment block. There were many different types, with the most common one being the walker, or your regular slow, dumbass zombie. But there were some really dangerous ones like the puker or the bloater. There were also animal zombies like zombie dogs, cats, bears, tigers, deer, and even sheep. There was a whole army of them. So many that I couldn't even count. But the one that caught my attention was the memory type zombie, or zombie 501. These ones were strong, fast, agile, and they could use weapons such as firearms, baseball bats, axes, knives. They could even use tools to construct their own weapons. These weren't simple zombies. They were clones infected with the virus. The virus mutates differently in different bodies, but it makes every clone a zombie 501. I was going to get sick. The scientists weren't just simply infecting clones. They were throwing them in cells with zombies to see the results. I got most of the information by listening to the scientist, but I found a computer with all the zombie types, all the victims, all the symptoms of the infection, and all the ways to kill the undead. I downloaded all the files on a flash drive and quickly snuck out before anybody could notice who I really was. August 25th, 2019. I went through all the files and read everything front to back and showed it to my friends and my mother. We all agreed that we must do something. It was clear as day that the government wanted the zombies as soldiers who would do anything no matter what it takes. First off, we quickly contacted all clones in the building and told them about what was going on and to be aware of what might happen to them. After we did that, we started contacting all clones around the world. In the end, there wasn't one person who didn't know about what was happening. The clone leaders, Kyo 787, Slick 13125, Echo 555, and me, agreed that it is time something was to be done. We started by organizing ourselves to destroy all laboratories, but also saving all the innocents in them. December 24th, 2019. All humans left the facilities. Like always, we clones were the ones who had to work on holidays while they eat, drink, and have fun. Only the clone lovers, as other humans call them, were left. They were the only people who knew about us and supported us at the same time. They joined our cause. I sighed with relief when I heard that we had some more people on our side. We made the following plan. First, we would free all creatures locked in human lab bunkers and bases. Second, we will take the DSAOE, which was a simple titanium container which had all DNA samples of all the creatures, both instinct and alive, stored in it. Every creature that has ever stepped on Earth, and every plant that has ever grown on Earth, and even every microscopic organism that had ever been on Earth, was all contained in that little 3-inch box. Third, we will take over Area Delta, which contained the spacecraft we needed to get to the other planet. We already have the plans, now we just need a way to get to the destination. And last but not least, I will leave my diary. Yes, the thing you're reading right now. I will leave it to spread awareness of what has been happening. December 25th, 2019. While packing my things and preparing to blow up the place, I was touched on the shoulder. "Oh, hi, Azia," I said when I saw her behind me with her hands behind her back. She was looking at me and could tell that she was actually happy. She was smiling. "Hey, Ghost," she mumbled nervously. I asked her if everything was alright and she replied with, Yes, of course." And then without giving me the chance to ask, she told me how happy she was. She couldn't believe that we were finally moving to a better place. I looked at her smiling face, both her cheeks blushing. I had never seen her like this. I was actually surprised that the nearly emotionless Izia was now openly showing her happiness. Now this may have been a bit of a moronic move, but it was then that I asked her, "By the way, do you like anyone?" When the words came out of my mouth, I nearly hit myself by the stupid shit that I had just said. She replied with, "Yes, I do." I looked down thinking to myself that there was no way in hell that this was me. But that's when it happened. Izia kissed me. Something I didn't expect was ever going to happen. It was that day that we got together. December 31st, 2019. We managed to blow up all the labs in the world, with the exception of Area 51 because we weren't able to. All creatures were released and were causing enough distraction to the government that all the clones and clone-respecting humans ran into Area Delta. We started to get in, but that's when it happened. Thousands of soldiers started to appear out of nowhere and they started to attack us. We had weapons too, so we eventually won the battle, achieving victory. We all went into the spacecraft and launched into the sky. However, we didn't go that far. We landed on Mars, and it was by my command. I knew that we had a traitor. There is no way all these soldiers just came out of nowhere. And that's when I heard the gunshot, and I searched for it only to find that it was my mother. She was killed. No! The words couldn't even come out of my mouth. I looked around and I saw bloody footsteps leading to the rector room. I followed them. Fury and Izia caught up with me, and the three of us went into the room only to discover her. January 1st, 2020. It was already 12:01 a.m. and the New Year's had come. Happiness for all humans below us and tragedy for us. The one who had called the government telling them about our location and our plans, and now who planted bombs onto the main reactor, was Violet. Fury yelled, "Why?" He knew it was her just as much as I and Izzy knew. Violet responded, "Simply to do what I was always meant to do. I was created to serve mankind, same as all of you. And so I will do my duty and save it from those who oppose it." She pointed the handgun at me and said, "I will start by eliminating the one who started this rebellion." She shot, but I was quicker than her finger, and I dodged the bullet. I ran towards her, but this time, when she shot, I wasn't quick enough, and so the bullet went directly into my chest. I fell to the floor, struggling to take a breath. She aimed at my skull, but before she managed to do anything, Fury ran into her, knocking her down. She got up and the two started fighting. While this was happening, Izzy pulled me out of the room and towards the medical room. The last thing I heard before I passed out were 2 gunshots. January 2nd, 2020. I woke up at an unknown place. It seemed to be a type of bedroom. I got up and I looked around, noticing that the bedroom was actually a tent. I went outside and saw the aircraft outside just next to my tent. I started looking around and I saw the clones and humans working together building homes. We were in the middle of a field surrounded by forest and mountains. I knew that we were on Zera, the planet that we were going to. I looked around more and that's when I noticed Izia, who was carrying food to the workers. I went to her. She was happy to see that I was okay, but being the caring person she was, she told me that I should rest. I asked her, "What about Violet and Fury?" Izia looked down and said, "Fury got shot while fighting her, and then he managed to take the gun and shoot her right between the eyes. Fury survived, but she didn't." I hugged her, knowing well that she was deeply hurt by what Violet did. At the end of the day, we found our new home. The scientists are finding ways to make the plants and animals from the DSAOE into actual living creatures here on Zera. Meanwhile, I'm finishing my diary, hoping that when I send it back to Earth, a human who isn't working for the government will find it, and they'll show it to everyone else, and reveal the secrets that the government is hiding. And so for one last time, Ghost out.